Yeah.
Yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest, the first major project from Moon Studios, who are unusually a remote bunch of developers based in different parts of the world. Some in California, some in Israel, which is, I think, one of the first times a game of this scale has been made like that, which is kind of cool. Anyway, it's it looks like a kid's game. It's this sort of sumptuous 2D world, amazing, beautiful game, truly. Where you play as this kind of forest spirit called Ori. In the beginning of the game, you meet a big cuddly, looks kind of a cuddly version of Baymax from Big Hero 6. He's on all the artwork, and it just looks like perfect kind of Disney style children's game fodder. And then you play a little bit more of this game, which is a 2D platformer in the Metroid fashion. I don't want to say the second part of that word, so neither of you like that. A game where you're exploring the map, picking up power-ups along the way and opening up new areas from the abilities that you gain. They call it Metroidvania, but it's also very much a trope of the Zelda games, which is what I'd say Ori has most in common with anyway, just in terms of the atmosphere and the sense of kind of adventure and triumph but in childlike wonder and fairy tale stuff. It's very similar tonally to Zelda in a very, very good way. Unlike Zelda, though, Ori and the Blind Forest is unbelievably difficult, deliberately so. It's kind of like they must be fans of Dark Souls. It's shockingly difficult. I've played plenty of very hard platformers in my life, Super Meat Boy, Guacamelee, which isn't quite as hard but has some incredible difficulty spikes. This is up there with Super Meat Boy, definitely. In fact, it may actually demand more from you. And whereas in Super Meat Boy, the second you mess up, you get an instant restart. In Ori and the Blind Forest, you actually choose where you save your game. Using a finite resource, which is also used as certain powers in the game. So early on, you pick up an ability to be able to sort of create an explosion from your thing to blow up certain things. That uses the same resources that you will use to save. So early on in the game, you will forget to save because we're so used to games checkpointing for us now. So you can go 20 minutes of very, very, very hard platforming in action, die by something very quickly, and yep, you're all the way back there and you've got to do it again. Or you might get to the point you don't have the resource to save. The more you play, the more you get your head around this system. And it's actually a fantastic, brilliant system because it creates a constant sense of tension, but there's also a constant sense of triumph, to use that word again, and reward. And it ties into this, what is a very basic, simple story that we've heard a million times before, like the forest has been taken over by darkness. I mean, honestly, to say it out loud, it's tedious, but it never hangs around. Its story's told, apart from an opening cutscene, which is really, really, really good. The story's basically told as you're moving through the world, sort of words will appear every now and again on the background. It never holds you up. It's never trying to sit there and yap at you. It's very elegantly done, very economically done, and always really, really good. The writing's strong but kind of mysterious, and the atmosphere and the characters and the things that you find along the way are just quite magical. And the tightness of the platforming and some of the things you have to do. Another early power-up that you receive is the ability to basically sort of do a dash attack. But how it actually works is that you can use that to springboard off the projectiles that enemies fire at you. So at first you just use that as kind of a defensive thing, but then quickly you realise they're going to make you do large platforming sections using the enemy's projectiles and the enemies themselves to get up higher and across different things. Then you realise that every time that you springboard off a projectile, it fires the projectile in the opposite direction. So you start having to use that to smash open barriers as you're doing the platforming. Honestly, the demands it makes of you are huge, but it's so meticulously well made that you never mind. I mean, I've had to turn it off swearing multiple times, but it's just it's one of those games that is so hard that if you keep beating your head against the wall, you're never going to get anywhere. You just have to take a break and come back to, and then you'll probably solve it. But truly an absolutely magnificent piece of work that just gets better and better the more power-ups you... Like all the best versions of these types of games, the more power-ups you unlock, the more the game opens up, the more ideas start to come out. And it's a Nintendo quality game. It absolutely is. It's heavily influenced by them. It's not an original game. its ideas and structure and concepts have been done before, but in terms of execution, it's near faultless, as hard as it is. And I'd say it's probably comfortably the best Xbox One exclusive since Titanfall. Now you can argue that both of those games, Ori and Titanfall, obviously on PC as well, but and one of the best console exclusives of this generation. It's a masterpiece is a word that maybe I use ever so slightly too often, but I was close to awarding this 10 out of 10 in my review.
Oh, blimey. Okay, I mean, when I first saw footage of this, I thought, oh, this looks like another sort of Microsoft. It looked to me like Max Curse of the Brotherhood.
That's what you think it's going to be, and then it really isn't. I mean, a kid could not play this game. I don't mean to say that young kids, like I'm sure once you get to 8, 9, and kids are skilled game players, but young kids, it looks like it's for them, but it's really, really not. It's not. It's just unbelievably difficult. But when you do even a small platforming section that you know how hard it is, when you get to the end of it, you really feel like you've achieved something, and you haven't had to spend hours and hours and hours. That's one of the things, like, I respect that about Dark Souls, but the amount of time commitment you need to put into that game is something that I find slightly disturbing. Whereas Ori and the Blind Forest, you'll finish the whole game in 10 hours, so it's that condensed and intensified. And the brilliant thing about it is this whole game is about the struggle to beat the darkness, to bring light back to the forest or whatever. Like I say, a trite story, but told very elegantly. But you really feel that in the way that the game actually plays, instead of it just being set dressing, window dressing to a game that you're playing. It really feels like everything that you're doing is that struggle. So just amazing, really. I'd highly recommend it. You have to go in knowing how hard it is, and expect that it's going to kick your ass, but don't miss out on it.